What's going on, guys? I am Tim Kelly. This is Phillies Stoplight for March 31st. I am in a suit, and this may be the final time you see me in a suit. Certainly in the regular season, probably even in the playoffs, it has to be like the exact perfect temperature to wear a suit, which happened today. We've really lucked out weather-wise the first 4 games of the season so far with the Phillies in DC, and then here it's been great. Anyway, I'm in a suit. The Phillies just won the home opener, and I am already sick of hearing about the torpedo bats. However, Anthony Sanfilippo wrote a great story on Pattison that had some pretty strong thoughts from Matt Strahm, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryson Stott, and I would suggest you read that. It's kind of blown up today because the quote from Strahm in particular, he is never one to mince words, and he really gave Anthony a great quote. So I would suggest you go read that. The Phillies are 3-1. They didn't score until late in the game. They've now trailed in every single game they've played, and I don't know what to make of that. Probably not much after 4 games. I do think the shadows were a very real factor in the first game. Mackenzie Gore pitched well. Games 2 and 3 maybe a little less explainable. Look, German Marquez today was somebody that was a really good pitcher at one point. It feels like he's 37. He's actually like 30. He's off of Tommy John, came back last season. It's possible this is someone that was an all-star level pitcher that's kind of rediscovering it, and he's in for a bounce-back year. But I get, in recent years, German Marquez has kind of fallen off, and people see that, and it's just like, why are the Phillies not hitting? But they've stepped up big, and they did it again late today with the go-ahead double from Edmundo Sosa. Then they got a 2-run home run from Kyle Schwarber that gave him some breathing room, and then Max Kepler and Nick Castellanos both hit back-to-back home runs. So, again, another game where the Phillies kind of walk through a portion of it offensively. They got a really good start out of Christopher Sanchez, but once the bats got going, the home runs came. And I mean, as much as we talk about the Phillies need to play more small ball or not live and die by the home run, a lot of the evidence that we have of this team is they are going to live and die by the home run, and so far they've done a lot more living than dying as they're 3-1. So interesting in that regard. I think Max Kepler has looked really good to this point. I've been impressed. I thought he looked really good in spring training. And again, the injury concerns you had when the Phillies signed him, still valid. The fact that you have so many left-handed hitters, still valid concern. We'll see how this plays out, but I just thought offensively he's looked really good so far in spring training and then into the regular season. Even when he's not getting on base, I think he's made relatively hard contact. So impressive stuff from Max Kepler, who also is a very good defender in the outfield. He's transitioning from right field to left field. Doesn't seem to have been much of an issue for him to this point, but really, the story from today, it just continues to be hard not to be impressed by Edmundo Sosa. I think between his ability to hit a fastball when he gets it, and then he plays really good defense at both the middle infield positions, he might be the best utility infielder the Phillies have had in my lifetime, or utility player in general. And that's with all due respect to Greg Dobbs, who was a great pinch hitter, Tomas Perez, who was not only a great pinch hitter, but before the daycare, Tomas Perez postgame, he knew how to celebrate. Even when the Phillies were not particularly good in all those years, he knew how to celebrate. And then Brad Miller was an incredible pinch hitter off the bench. Kind of a lost art. I'm pro DH, but that is one of the things you've lost with the DH is there really isn't, like, I think Cody Clemens in old school National League Baseball would have had a lot more value because he's the type of guy that can come off the bench and change the game with one swing. You don't have that nearly as much without the pitcher spot coming up in the order. But as far as Edmundo Sosa, not only does he play good defense, he can get really hot offensively, and there's just an energy to him where you feel like the best moments of the Phillies are when he's involved. And I get it. He's gotten to the point in the past when you've played him quite a bit where he gets overexposed, so he's maybe better used in smaller sample sizes. But when Trey Turner went down last year, and now when they've had to go a few games without Trey Turner this year, Edmundo Sosa stepped up, and you don't even really feel like they've missed a beat. And that's not to say, obviously, for the Phillies to get where they want to go this season and beyond, they need Trey Turner in the lineup. But having Edmundo Sosa in there once in a while it's not like this drastic downgrade because he's a great defender and he's someone that when things are going right offensively, he can hit a home run, he can drive the ball in the gap like you saw today. There's just a ton of energy. He really is that guy on this team since he's been acquired in 2022 from the Cardinals that's given them a spark when they've needed it the most. So just kind of appreciate what you have in Edmundo Sosa here, because as much as this era is going to be remembered for Bryce Harper, Zach Wheeler, Kyle Schwarber, Aaron Nola, whoever, Edmundo Sosa is someone that on another team may potentially be someone that starts on a more regular basis. On this team, he's not that, and I think this is probably the role he's best suited in, and he's really, really good at it. So, big day from Edmundo Sosa. Also encouraging is that Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper are hitting the ball hard, and they're doing that pretty consistently. Bryce Harper just missed a homer in Monday's game, the home opener, in the first inning. It would have been an opposite field home run, and it would have been a cool moment. He obviously homered on opening day in D.C. to have come back and also homered in the home opener would have been a cool moment. But Kyle Schwarber more than made up for it later in the game. He hit a 430-foot home run, a 2-run shot right after Edmundo Sosa gave the Phillies the lead for the first time in the 7th inning. So Schwarber hit that off the batter's eye. Harper's hitting 294. Kyle Schwarber's hitting 353. And, you know, this little thing where Trey Turner's been out for a little while, I wonder, are the Phillies going to go back to Trey Turner leading off potentially as soon as Wednesday? Maybe they will. I don't know. Another part of me is just like, man, this stuff doesn't always have to make sense. And I get Kyle Schwarber's not the prototypical leadoff hitter, but something about it just works, and the Phillies have won a lot of games with him over the last few years. I would guess they probably will go back to Trey Turner, and it makes sense. They've gone to this point where you've experimented all spring training. Turner led off on opening day. Follow through with that experiment so you know in July, August, September, October what your best lineup is. I just feel like it's going to end up being with Kyle Schwarber leading off. We'll see. In any event, whether he's leading off or hitting cleanup, he's not going to make this easy for the Phillies as he approaches free agency after this year. I have a tough time, and I know you have to be careful not to extend too many guys into their mid to late 30s, and you already have Turner, Harper, Wheeler, Nola signed. Castellanos is here another year. I don't know how you don't bring JT Realmuto back in some form, because who are you going to have that's, even if we acknowledge JT Realmuto is not at his peak anymore, who are you going to have that comes in and is anywhere near the level of the player that he is right now? So I get it. Like, in theory, Schwarber is a DH. That's a lot easier to replace. But between the fact that he's hitting home runs at a pace that nobody other than Aaron Judge has done since he's come to the Phillies, and he's a team leader, which I think is real. He brought a winning presence to the Phillies, and they've won since after not winning for a long time before he came here. I don't know how they necessarily let him walk in free agency. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to let him and Realmuto play things out, and if you have a disappointing postseason exit, maybe you shake things up in the offseason and you let one or two of them go, but I don't know how you shake things up and aren't a worse team in 2026. That would kind of be my thoughts. And I get it's only 4 games, but it's the 4th season of Kyle Schwarber here. And outside of Bryce Harper, he's been the best position player over that period. And at times, it's felt like the heartbeat of your team. The Phillies will be off Tuesday. Then they'll return to action Wednesday against the Rockies. By all accounts, Trey Turner should be back in the lineup, maybe back leading off in the lineup. And I would be remiss not to mention, while it kind of gets lost in the game, having that walk where he comes on, pinch hits for Brandon Marsh, walks, and then ultimately scores when Edmundo Sosa drives that run in, or drives those 2 runs in to go ahead in the 7th inning. Kyle Schwarber ends up hitting a home run. So that was a big moment for Trey Turner to draw that walk, to not chase there. And I would expect he's back in the lineup. Zach Wheeler will be on the mound for the Phillies, and they'll be facing Kyle Freeland. I mean, obviously with Wheeler, he's going to go out 6 or 7 innings every start, give you a chance to win. I do think we've almost been lulled into this sense of, oh, this is normal. Like, it's not normal. Zach Wheeler is pitching himself into the Hall of Fame conversation. If you look at his numbers compared to anyone in this era, with Garrett Cole out for this season, like, we could look back, and I'm not counting Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, and Justin Verlander in this era, because they're kind of like they're still playing, but they're kind of like the previous era. In this era, I think the only pitcher who has like a better track record, is going to have a better like 10-year stretch than Wheeler is maybe Garrett Cole, but he's now missing this entire season because of Tommy John. You don't know what he's going to be like when he comes back. Sandy Alcantara appeared to be on that track, and maybe he'll get back on it this year. He missed last year with Tommy John. Zach Wheeler has become a guy that you're expecting 200 innings from. You're expecting him to be top 5 in the Cy Young. He's delivered that pretty much every single season he's been with the Phillies and doesn't really show any signs of stopping. So don't take that for granted with Zach Wheeler. But Kyle Freeland is someone that finished 4th in Cy Young voting in 2019. He really hasn't been good since then, but he is a lefty, which presents a unique challenge for the Phillies because they have so many lefties. I would expect Johan Rojas will be in the lineup in center field on Wednesday. They'll keep Kepler and give Marsh the day off. And Kyle Freeland had 7 strikeouts over 6 shutout innings on opening day. So like we talked about with Marquez, it's possible this is someone who was once looked like he was going to be one of the league's elite pitchers. I mean, to finish in 4th place in Cy Young voting when you're pitching your home games at Coors Field is no small feat. So I wouldn't take him lightly, but this is a game the Phillies need to win because respectfully, you don't know what you're getting Thursday with Taijuan Walker on the mound. And then you have the Dodgers coming in. So you want to go into that stretch 4-1, leave yourself a little wiggle room, and then maybe you get greedy. Maybe you sweep the Rockies and you take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, but you want to leave yourself a little room in case those next 4 games don't go particularly well. The first 4, though, have gone well. The Phillies are 3-1. There's some things they need to improve on, but it's been a good start to the season, and there will be plenty more throughout this year on Pattison and here at Phillies Stoplight. So that's going to do it for today's episode. I will talk to you guys next time.